How's it going, Shelem? Good to see you, man.
What's going on, my dude? Pleasure to see you.
Man, we haven't seen each other in what, almost 4 years now?
Yeah, since we graduated, I guess. Dang,
Yeah,
time flies.
it sure does. So tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you do.
I am a fly cat who does a lot of cool things, right? Mainly, I make hip hop music. I also so happen to be a civil engineer. I design water and sewer treatment, but I also make really good beats and I sing sometimes, just a little bit.
That's what's up. Well, it must be a little bit more than sometimes, because last I remember, you're going to be on TEDx Marshall, right?
Yep, TEDx Marshall U. That's actually this Saturday that we're
Oh, I didn't realize it was that
doing that.
soon.
Yeah, time's flying, dude.
Yeah, well, congratulations on that, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I tell you what, let's go ahead and jump right into the questions.
Let's jump into the questions.
So when we look at your career as a rapper, um, what do you say are some of the foundational things that got you to where you are right now?
Foundational things. There is. Let me start it. Let me start from the beginning. But okay, starting from the beginning. Um, I first started listening to hip hop about sixth grade or so. And that was like right at the time. That was like at the peak of T.I. and Ludacris's careers, and I was like a huge fan of those two. And then Lil Wayne was like on top of the world in 2008, and that was when I was like, "Yo, hip hop is this thing that I really want to get into." So there's that. Another defining moment is when Soldier Boy came on the scene because he produced his own songs on FL Studio. So my brother and I ended up doing the same thing. We learned to produce, and my brother still does production. He doesn't rap, but I decided to do both. And then skip forward down the line 4 or 5 years, I had my very first performance at the Marshall University Talent Show. And then 2 days after that, I had another performance at this open mic event called Black Coffee. And at Black Coffee, I met this group of guys who were in a band called the Heavy Hitters. And they were like, "Yo, man, your stuff is really dope. We really wanna like just we'll learn your songs if you just send us some and you can come play with us." So I did, and obviously you were one of those guys. And that was another pretty big defining moment because you guys brought me to at least half of the venues that I've played at to this day for the first time. Well, maybe not half of the venues in the area, at least to this day, for the first time was playing with y'all. So that was like a big portion of my journey. And yeah, I think that about covers the basics.
Cool. So yeah, man, I forgot we did meet at Black Coffee.
Yeah.
Yep. So what about the Heavy Hitters? You mentioned that the Heavy Hitters kind of brought you into everything. To give everybody else context, the Heavy Hitters was a jazz funk band. We played just a little bit of everything, and we were all music majors at Marshall. So when we went to Black Coffee, we saw this rapper Shelem, and we was like, we can pick this dude up and we can go places. So I guess my first question for you is what what were some of the obstacles that you had performing with us? Because I mean, you had the talent show, then you started performing at Black Coffee, and then we kind of just picked you up and ran with you. So what were some of the things that you kind of faced initially as someone who just started performing, just got picked up by somebody who has experience performing? And what was your experience with that and learning how to build this Shalem brand, this face, this image, this persona?
I don't think there were any like real issues. Like I think it was good for me because Actually, no, that's not true. See, it really worked out work playing with y'all because we were going to places where you guys were already established at anyway. So I was just coming on and doing my little 1-2 songs because we had picked the 1-2 songs that we knew would work. So it was a very low risk, high reward thing for me. I was just getting in there doing my thing, and I would hop off stage, and everybody was like, "Yo, that was really good." And so it was really like the best way to get eased into it. And actually, the difficulties, the challenges really came kind of after when I started doing my own thing with and without a DJ sometimes. And kind of like, now I'm in this room and I am now it's me the rapper with his DJ in a in a crowd that came to hear straight rock. And it's like, how are you gonna handle that? So that's really where the experience started kicking in for me, and how I present myself and how I negotiate the audience, really.
You say negotiate the audience. Talk about that a little bit more. As far as, how do you still make a positive impact when you're in, I mean, you're a hip hop artist and you're in a tri-state area that's predominantly country, rock, metal scene. How did you make your stamp and negotiate with the audience and meet them in the middle? What was your experience with that like?
For me, it was easier than it would be for most because my content always leaned on the safe side, I guess I'll call it. Like, I have always been kind of like a mainstream friendly, not abrasive. My sound has never been abrasive. Like, it's always been friendly and easy to latch onto, right? So that part was already there. And a lot of my lyrics, especially in the songs that I chose to perform, I would have, like, the really upbeat, positive message, and all that significant and substantial stuff. So it was easier to present that. So the negotiation really came in to, how do you go up there before you even start playing a song? How do you let these people know, hey, you're about to experience something totally different, but just rock with me and we'll get to a place where we want to go. You just got to trust me. So that's kind of what it was learning, how do you open to a room full of strangers that not only don't know you, but they came for something completely different. And in that was just kind of talking to them, letting them know, hey, I'm about to do something weird, and I hope you dig it, and kind of showing them a little bit of personality and engaging with the crowd as much as possible, really.
Cool. So let's transition now from more so on the audience perspective to your venues. I know you started out with us. We kind of took care of all the logistical work as far as the venues, but when you started to venture on your own and kind of break away from the heavy hitters to do your thing as Shalem, what were some of the experiences that you had with working with these venues and these hosts directly, as opposed to having somebody kind of wing for you?
That was Some of them were, I tried to stay in the realm of where I was invited. So essentially, every time I played with y'all, 9 times out of 10, whoever was in charge there was like, hey, that was really good. You should come back and do a full set. So that's how I ended up, doing my first show at the press club. And I ended up doing a couple opening slots at the V Club and all that. And we did quite a few at the Blue Parrot and the Empty Glass and all that. And I was just able to be like, hey, I'm here. What you trying to do? So for the most part, that was pretty straightforward. And I didn't reach out to any venues that I hadn't been with y'all or hadn't been reached out to for years, I feel like.
So it sounds like you took a very strategic approach and just kind of stick with, the people that have already been exposed to you and developed
Yeah,
your own relationships from there.
definitely.
Cool. So, you have this really nice stage presence. Is there any type of story behind it? Because I mean, you have this amazing energy every time you step on the stage. You know how to get an audience on your feet. I've seen you do it live on the levee when you were at the Charleston Civic Center. It just seems like everywhere you go, no matter who's in the audience, you naturally just turn that around. Is there anything talk about that part of your performance element?
That's something that I guess I would say I didn't start doing on purpose. Like it was something I saw that I could do and latched onto really. But um I guess I'll break it down into two ways. DJ Illspin, who is my DJ, he was one of the judges at that first talent show that I performed at. And he told me recently, like a couple months ago, I was telling him I saw footage, like somebody posted one of those Facebook flashbacks. I saw the footage of that performance, and I was like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Like I was completely out of control. I had like I was just all over the place. Like I was screaming, I was doing a whole lot. And I was like, wow, man, I've really come a long way. And I was like, how could you even see that and think, oh, this guy's gonna be something? Like, you gotta be crazy, was what I was telling him. And he was like, dude, think about what you did. You came out there, everybody was doing something specific, and you came out there, you had the one ripped sleeve on, you had no shoes on, and you was in all black, and then the bass came on, and then you just went crazy and you set the whole thing on fire. And I was like, huh, wow, I didn't realize that like I did that from day one. Like I was full costume, I was fully in character with like the theme of the song. Like it was like a hard introspective, but also external battle type thing. And that's kind of what I showed on stage, even when I wasn't good at doing what I was doing. Like that was just so that came to me naturally. But as I start to get more experience, I start to really understand that negotiation with the crowd, like how to engage them. And now I actually do engage them. Like it's past just me coming out there and going crazy. I find different ways to include them. And that's something I've learned from multiple different places. But it comes from the mentality and the mind state that it just only works when the crowd is with me. And I have you know for sure, like there are a lot of the gigs out here. A lot of the gigs, you're just the sideshow, right? Like, and nobody's paying attention. You're just playing background music, but that doesn't work for my style of music. Like the heavy hitters, you guys could go into your covers and just play some stuff everybody knows, and they'll just jam along, but they won't look at you. When nobody's looking at me, I literally cannot perform. So over the years, I came up with different ways. If I feel like I'm losing them, I have a think, boom, I can pull this out, call and response. Hey, I need you to do this. Hey, if you're with me, let's go ahead and raise our hands and blah, blah, blah. Those are my ways of making sure that I keep the audience engaged, because if the audience isn't engaged, then I literally cannot do what I came to do. I need eye contact from everybody. I need some form of movement to let me know that, okay, you're not crazy. I'm with you.
And it also sounds like you're really in a sense not performing. You're creating experiences. You're
Absolutely.
you're not about coming in and just doing your set and walking off. You're really about taking the
Exactly.
audience on a journey.
And once I realized that that's how I do things on stage, I started applying that everywhere else too. So that's how the entire Shelem show, as I call it, is an experience from whatever thing I randomly decide to post. Like it's not just promotional content. Even when it is, it's meant to be experienced. It's meant to be talked about or thought about. Like you gotta, everything has to have some sort of meaning, because at the end of the day, if I'm just giving you something and you have nothing to do with it, then you're just gonna leave it alone or ignore it or blah blah blah. But if I give you something to experience, now you have something. One, you'll remember it. Two, you'll talk about it. And three, it was worth your time. At the end of the day, it's entertainment, and it's got to be worth your time if I'm giving it to you, and it's got to be worth my time if I'm doing it.
Right. Now I want to transition into engagement as far as social media, but before that, while we're still
Mm-hmm.
on the performance element, do you have any any suggestions for people to find their performance
Find my
element?
water. Any suggestion for people to find their performance element?
Yeah,
No.
you naturally have that outgoing personality, but trying to find a way to translate that to a performer on stage and be able to translate your message to an audience, and especially the uphill battle of they don't even like the same genre. But how do you? What were some of the things? I guess you kind of talked about it already, but is there anything else you wanted to add as far as like finding your stage presence and finding your social
Finding my
media presence or anything like that?
No, I don't think there's any method to the madness. You just kind of do what you think and then see if it works, and then just try to improve on it from that. Like I remember a lot of these places where I was the sideshow, like I would just close my eyes and just focus on delivering a powerful vocal performance, because I knew nobody was going to look at me, nobody cared. I'm just going to sound really good. And I did that. The only reason I stopped doing that is because people were looking at me and I shouldn't have my eyes closed when I'm talking to them. So I mean, it just comes on its own, I think. And I think that is the case for everyone. Like you just kind of, you find what works for you and you just drill it in until it gets good.
All right. Now let's go over to engagement on social media. I know you've been on at least two podcasts where they have talked to you about your social media campaign. You have
Mm-hmm.
really created the Shelem brand, and the social media aspect of it is so infectious. And one of the things I wanted to talk about specifically was the bingo. You had a bingo marketing campaign. And I'd like for you to talk about that. What were some of the things that went well? What were some of the things that didn't go well? What was your initial vision and what did you end up getting out of it? And how did this affect your media campaign from that point forward? I know you was waiting for this question.
I have Nobody has directly asked me about this yet. So thank you for doing so, because I have a million things I could say about this, because I thought it was like the most genius thing when I came up with it, and I was so excited. But it started with the simple idea. You know the rapper Russ, right?
Yes.
His claim to fame, his thing that he shoves into everybody's face was that, hey, I put out a song a week for 2.5 years. And that's what it took for me to get to where I am. Right. So that's been something I've been aware of, and I've thought about it. And I was like, I don't have that type of creative output. And we all have to know our place, right? Some people can crank them out. A lot of people look at me and they're like, yo, you are so crazy and so quick, but I'm really not. Like I probably average a song every 8 to 10 weeks if I'm on fire. Like it's not crazy fast. So so I knew that I wanted to do something with that consistency, right? And I had these songs, I had a few songs left over from when I was working on my last project, and I started making some new ones. And all these songs were like, they were different from each other. They were still all Shalem songs and very much in the same style, but they did different things. They came from a different place in my mind, and I just wanted to kind of just throw them all out there. So I was like, okay, how do I make this interesting? How do I make it entertaining? Because if I come out here and put a song out every week, nobody's gonna care. That's another thing that I think it is certainly not unique to my experience, but the way I have learned from it is unique to my experience. I think I have been making music since 2010, right? I was in ninth grade, 10th grade. So I have been consistently, I was putting out a mixtape every year. I have been consistently putting out songs and nobody caring. So I am acutely aware that everything you do has to be exciting or else nobody cares. So when I was like, okay, I'm going to do a song every however long, what does that look like? I don't know how exactly, but I landed on I could turn it into a game of bingo. So the way the game of bingo worked was that I had the homie Pat McBrayer, who excuse me, he designed my website. He wrote the code for this bingo card generator. And what we did was we made a grid, and for each song that I was going to put out, I had just like an icon, an image, and that image would go somewhere in one of these squares, and then you get 4 in a row, 5 in a row, then you get bingo, and you get a free prize. Everybody loves free stuff. Everybody loves a game, and everybody loves something with a low barrier to entry, right? So this was like a very open thing. I specifically didn't make it one of those things where you got to follow me and tag 3 friends and blah, blah, blah. No, all you got to do is go to my website. And I had to take people's emails just to make sure that people were only getting one card. But aside from that, it was just like yo, play if you want. All you got to do is keep track of each song as they come out once a week. And then boom, you might get a free t-shirt.
That is amazing. Cause I wish I would have participated in it, but I watched the entire campaign. I hawk-eyed it, and it was just I could not get enough of it. It was truly something amazing. Um, what were some of the things that went well with this campaign? Some of the things that didn't, some of the things that you kept in your social media campaign, some of the things that you might have adjusted after doing this bingo.
Okay. I definitely have notes somewhere in here, but just off the top of my head, what worked really well, I had greater aspirations for it, but I think overall it worked well in terms of um being buzzworthy and talk worthy. Like people were legitimately interested in sharing it. Like I encouraged people to post their board when it was like the third week and there was about to be the fourth week and somebody was about to win. I was like, yo, post me your board and let me see what you got. And like 20 people were like, yo, this is crazy. I'm nowhere near winning. You out here bullshitting me. This is crazy. So that was fun. It got the conversation going. And that's one of the most important things for me, is it being something you want to talk about, because again, it's got to be memorable if it's going to be worth our time. Um, Something that didn't work, it was too long, which I don't understand how Russ was putting out a song for 2 years, because I watched the numbers just dwindle and dwindle and dwindle as I was putting out these songs, and there was actually 16 songs in it, and the 16th song, the last one, is a really good one. And when it got to about week 10, week 11, week 12, I noticed that people were just straight up not paying attention and anymore. So I actually, to this day, I never put out the 16th song, and nobody asked me why there was no 16th song. I just fizzled it out, and it's like it didn't happen. So that was something I learned, was trying to uh, make sure you keep your idea within the bounds of people's attention spans, because when they stop paying attention, then you're just throwing away your good songs. And I think there's two or three of them that got thrown away to the wolves. That I was just like, man, that could have had a little bit more attention.
Yeah. For people, so this podcast specifically targets more so classical musicians, and I've noticed that more people from more artists from other genres have shown up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the best things I think you have that can apply to everybody regardless of genre is your marketing.
Mm-hmm.
What do you recommend for people who are marketing? I know you have an email list, you have a very strong Instagram presence. I'm not really on Twitter or Facebook, but I see your Instagram presence. What are some of the things you recommend for people who are starting to build their presence, their brand from the ground up?
I think the first thing you should do is figure out your strength, right? And actually, I was talking to some good friends of mine recently, and I was telling them like, yo, you guys aren't really showing much growth, and I don't understand why. And then like it finally hit me that they're not focusing their energy in the right place. So these guys are a band that their live show is it. Like their live performance, they have been playing for years and their quality is top notch. And every time they play, people enjoy it. So if that is where you are, and they have like one recorded album, and their social media, none of them are very social media heavy, right? So if the live music realm is where you exist and it's basically only where you exist, that's fine, but you need to make sure that you are capitalizing on every single person that you are wowing at these shows. What I do to this day, every time I get off stage, not only do I go do my little meet and greet thing, like I'm like, oh, come talk to me at the merch table. When people are done at the merch table, I make sure that I walk through the crowd in a serpentine 15, 20 times, because as soon as somebody sees you, they say, hey, that was good. Now all of a sudden, you just invited me to hand me something for you to hold on to. You just invited me to hand you something. So I actually have these business cards. Crap, hold on. I got one right here. My backpack is in reach. I have these business cards, and it is my rapper's license. So it's literally, it looks like my driver's license. Uh, but it's got my social media and stuff on there. And like that's the kind of stuff anybody can do. You can have a even if it's not a super creative business card, you should have a business card um and hand it out to people if anybody shows interest in you, you need to be in a position to capitalize off them. So another good way to do that is having that email list. And this is something I've actually failed to keep up with, but I don't need to because I'm stronger in social media. I'm stronger in the conversational aspect of it and blah, blah, blah. But for my friends who have been playing everywhere around here, they have a very strong circuit. And whenever people see that they're there, they will come. So what I told them they need to do is like, you need to walk around with a pad and paper, like, yo, give me your phone number, email, whatever, just so I know that when I'm in this city, I will call you, I will notify you in whatever way you feel comfortable. That's not going to bother you, that's not going to intrude or impose. Any way that I can tell you, hey, if you want to come see me, come see me. And then that's how you really build that's how somebody who is really live heavy would build on their situation.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said you kind of you kind of weave through the crowd 15 or 20 times because one of the people I'm going to be airing next, I did an interview with them and they talked about the traditional outreach model not working because there's so many, if you think even what like 5, 10 years ago, You
Mm-hmm.
had the door-to-door sales, you
Mm-hmm.
had, everybody who was just engaging anybody and everybody. And I like how this kind of turns this on its head. And it's like you make yourself available for people to engage you. And those are
Yeah,
the people that you start with.
exactly. And yeah, people are no longer receptive to advertising. That's the thing. Because we have these nonstop ads on YouTube, you can't even open up a social media without seeing an ad. Like, we are crazy good at, think about how fast when you're flipping through stories on IG, how quickly can you skip one that's an ad without even realizing, like, you don't even think about it. You just boom. Because as soon as you see that format, like it looks like an ad, it's out of here. So it's that stuff doesn't work anymore. Like, it's all about, like you said, making yourself available to those who are interested, and just showing yourself as being present. Like, yo, I'm not trying to sell you nothing. I'm here for a good time, and if you enjoy the same type of good time as me, then let's do it together. And that's it. No strings attached. I don't need you to buy nothing. I would like you to stream my song, but you don't have to. You can just come to the show whenever it happens if that's what you want to do. That's it.
That's great, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. You've given us so much insight. Is
You
there anything that you want to talk about that maybe hasn't came up yet before I go into the getting to know you questions to wrap this thing up?
mm, anything I want to talk about? Anything at all?
Promotion, you
Man,
can promote yourself, whatever you want.
I've been playing that Pokemon. You know what I mean? Listen, you know what I mean?
Oh
Oh
man,
man.
it's a
Have you
nice thing, man.
I'm a huge fan of, I grew up playing Pokemon. And I love the Zelda games, and the Breath of the Wild was like my favorite game ever. So then this new Pokemon game, it's Pokemon, but like the Breath of the Wild game, and it's just right down the middle. Perfect. That's all I want to say, I guess. If anybody is still listening, still curious, or would like to hear more of my crazy thoughts, just Google me, you'll find me, I
Well,
guess.
all your social media when this ends up being posted onto Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, video, Vimeo,
Mm-hmm.
all everything's going to have your social media on it. So it'll have everything
For
that you give
sure.
me. Instagram, man, take a time to check out his website. This
Yeah, my website is
I
well
constantly
done.
go back to your website and just kind of double check. Now, granted, I work in a classical field, you work in hip hop field, but I find myself constantly going back to a website and being like, okay, what is he doing that's catching everybody's eye, and how do I integrate this into what I'm doing? Because
Word.
it's really concise. It's a black background, but your colors automatically hit you, and it draws you into whatever is there. And it's really well designed, like
Thank you.
aesthetically, psychologically. It's very well put together.
Yeah, that is the brainchild of a few of us. Definitely Pat, who I mentioned earlier. I used to have a site on Squarespace, and he was like, "Man, that site is buns. Let me do a site, man. Let me do your site." And I was like, "All right, dude, you could do it." So yeah, he definitely, when he stepped in, it got way, way, way better. So like we used the same formatting that I had on my old site. Like, I was like, this is how I want to file my information. This is how I want it to be digested. But it was a huge help to have somebody who knows what they're doing actually put it together, you know.
Yep.
So
And
yeah.
actually, I'm going to touch on that a little bit before we go on to get to know you. It sounds like everything you have reached out to people who know what they're doing and got it directly from the source, as opposed to trying to put it together yourself, where it wouldn't necessarily be bad, but when you find the right person, it ends up being so much better.
Allow me to expound on that. You are absolutely right, but you misspoke a little bit.
Okay.
Actually, I have yet to find the right person for anything. the right person has found me. So the way it's always gone for me is that like I've been a very DIY type of dude. Like I've done literally every step of the process. I've done it myself for years before somebody ever stepped in. And what that's done for me is that's given me an appreciation for what they do, because like I can, like, you know, once you understand how something works, then when you see somebody operating at a high level, you understand like, no, this is really, this isn't just something that is it, it's presented as if it's easy, but it's really not. So there's that. And also there's like, you know, the concept of the right people come to you at the right time. So with everything, I was doing it myself and somebody came and saw me and said, yo, I like that. Let me show you what I can do with your idea. And that has brought me a lot, especially, and it's starting to happen more and more in the past year or so. And I could not be more thankful, because now I can execute on these ideas I have, because I've always had these grand ideas that I just do not have the capacity to execute, because I'm just one dude who's really only good at making songs, and I just get by on the other stuff. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this thing up. So at the end of every interview, I like to ask a couple questions just to get to know you a little bit better as a person. We've seen Shalem, but now let's see Isaac, and
Let's
let's
see
just get
it.
to know you as a person. So my
Okay.
first question is an interesting hobby that nobody would expect you to have.
You know what I love, dude? For the past few months, bro, I have been heavy into watching slash listening to finance YouTube channels, bro. I listen to Economics Explained and How Money Works are like my two big ones. I also like The Plain Bagel, but like the funniest thing is I don't truly learn a whole lot. Like I just listen and I'm like, man, that's interesting, but I couldn't tell you anything I learned. It's literally just entertainment for me.
You know that's is I was not expecting that, but that's really interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know how it started, but I love those.
yeah. All right, a piece or a song that everybody should take the time to listen to.
Whew, a single piece or a single song that everybody should take the time to listen to. All right, check this out. Check
If
this
you
out.
need if you need like one or two, that's that like two or three, that's
No,
fine.
it's okay. I will give you one song, but I'll say the album, one album that everybody needs to. Oh my God, there's so many good albums. Okay, two fantastic albums, right? From 2022, you gotta listen to Montero by Lil Nas X, because oh my goodness, I think that was a 2021 album. My fault.
Yeah.
But anyway, and you gotta hear An Evening with Silk Sonic. So my one song that I'm choosing to say everybody has to hear is Fly As Me by Silk Sonic. When that bass line comes on, I'm telling you, that is my theme song. Like that sounds like exactly how I feel in my heart at all times.
As soon as you said baseline, the first thing I thought of was money bags.
Oh,
So
don't bring
I
up
will
that
make sure
old stuff.
I'll make sure I put that in the description. When I was with the heavy hitters and we were performing with Shalom as his music, one of his closers was money bags, and there was every time the bass line came on. At first, it was like everybody started nodding their head, but by the time he got established, everybody knew what was coming.
I can't believe I never finished that song. I never
You never
recorded it.
finished it?
It never happened, dude. Like that was just a moment that we performed, but that song does not exist. Like it's only in our hearts.
Man, you got to bring that back. It needs to be out there.
Oh man.
Oh man, a book that everybody should read.
Anything by Rick Riordan. I don't know if that's how to pronounce it, but the dude who wrote the Percy Jackson series,
Oh yeah, Rick Riordan. Yeah,
Riordan, whatever his name is, that dude got the flame. Oh my goodness. I've read them all except for the Egyptian ones. I haven't read those, but aside from that, I'm pretty sure I've read all of his series, and I love them all. They're dope.
Okay. Let's go on to a quote everybody should hear.
A quote. Ooh. Okay, hold on, real quick. I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna, because I think I have some quotes here. Oh, this could spark a whole conversation. But so I was talking to a contractor that we work with at the old day job, and we were talking about just the way life is, and he's an older gentleman, of course, and he was talking about how it's like he can't find decent laborers at all, and because everybody has been thumping college for so long, and they've just been shunning trade school like it's this barbaric thing, when that's not at all true. Because he went to school for music production and like the real tech side of the equipment and stuff, and that's what he does at his church. That's what he loves, but he also loves being a contractor. He builds water treatment plants, and like that's his thing. So he was talking about like, yeah, like I love both, and it's really sad that they are that we have, and the quote is, we have educated our quality workforce out of existence. So everybody that could have been a good handyman of some kind, a good plumber, a good electrician, we're telling them, oh, go get a degree in literacy or something that doesn't really hold any value and doesn't really contribute to the world in the grand scheme of things, because college is the only way to get ahead. And that hit me. So I wrote that down, and I'm glad I got to share that, actually, because I didn't know where I was going to share that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to send that to me because I teach public school, and this is one of the big things I preach to my kids. It's like, find what you want to do and figure out how you need to do it. If it's college, great. If it's not college, guess what? It's still great.
That's
But get out there and
exactly
do it.
right. That's exactly right. Oh my goodness. I'm glad you're telling somebody that.
Yeah. And then the last thing I have is a quote from you that everybody should hear.
Get money. Now I'm playing. Quote from me. I feel like I
Or
got
any type
quotes.
of advice from you
Any,
that you want to give. It doesn't even have to be about music, it could be about anything.
um, it's not that deep. It's really not that deep. Like, no matter what it is, um, if you break it down, take it piece by piece, blah blah blah. Nothing is insurmountable. There, you can do anything you want. All your idea, no idea is a bad idea. You just have to think about it hard enough to make it make sense, and stuff like that. It's not that deep. If anything is bothering you, it's probably not that deep. Just give it a second, and you'll figure it out.
I'm definitely showing this interview to my students now because that's another thing I'm trying to get them to realize. And I think you said it better than I think I ever could.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Yep. So
Inspiring the youth.
yeah, that's what we got to do, man. Got to prepare this next generation.
For sure.
Yep. So thank you so much for participating in this interview. I'm really
Man,
excited
thank
to get
you for
this out.
having me. For sure. It has been a blast. Next time I'll have to ask you a whole bunch of questions, because we haven't truly chopped it up in a long time. It will just be little texts here and there. How you doing? But how are you doing? I need to know.
Yeah, we definitely got to link back up, man. All right, take it easy.
All right, man.